Welcome back to another episode of Undecided Major with Dakari J, and I'm so excited because I have Amber Owens, who I consider a little sister, with me today. We're talking about her food blog. Who would have thought a few years ago that social media would be a place where we want to look at food, right? People take pictures of their food, they record their food, but now people are turning that into a real career. You talk about is it okay to leave your full-time gig to pursue something that you consider a passion? I'm excited about it. If you're thinking about, you know what, I have a passion on the side, I want to do something different with my life, but I don't know where to start, where to begin. Amber talks about all the different journeys that she's taken to become an entrepreneur, but also maintaining her full-time gig. I'm excited. Let's dive right into this conversation. I hope that this gives you some type of joy and insight and leap if you need it. Well, again, guys, you're listening to Undecided Major, or you could be watching it wherever you get your podcast. And I'm so excited because I have Amber Owens in the building. Amber of Forks and Flights, how are you?
Woo, I'm great. I am so excited and so honored to be on here talking to my bro. So I'm excited. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited too because we have so much to discuss and cover during our time. And for those that are just watching now, this show is centered on people who have a lot of different passions, right? But how do you scale, right? Most of us, we grew up, and I share this story a lot. I watched this movie one time, Five Heartbeats, one of my favorite movies. My grandfather and I would watch it. And I'll never forget, there's this scene where Choir Boy, he's on tour, but he's heavily invested in the church as well. And they're on tour, and he stops at this, I guess, a convenience store, and he gets out and he goes to the phone, and he calls his parents, and his father is on the phone. His father is a pastor, and his father says to him, "You can't serve two masters." In a real sense, his father was saying either you're going to sing for God or you're going to continue to sing with your group. And I remember as a kid thinking and wrestling through, how is it that you can't do multiple things? Who created the rules that said you had to do one thing? Our parents are of that generation, though, where they went to school, got education, came out and had one job, and they retired after 30 and 40 years. And I'm like, not our generation. Our generation, we're more fluid, and we can have 4 or 5 different careers if we choose to. Let's talk about that. Do you think it's okay to have multiple careers? And then let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now.
Okay, yeah. First, I have to say I am the queen of why. Why not? Why can't we? If I like this and I like that, like why do I have to choose? I want it all, right? And so it's so funny because I think about that constant debate on social media where it's like, you can have a big wedding or a big honeymoon and buy a house. Why I can't do all three?
Right.
Like why I feel like society, or maybe it's the older generation, is they're forcing us to choose, but we can do it all,
Yeah.
with limits and boundaries or whatever. We can do it all. So I think that I'm excited to be a part of this generation where we have so many examples of people who are doing it all. They work a full-time job, working 40 hours a week, and then they turn around and they're coaching their kids' football teams and basketball teams,
Yeah.
or they have a side business. My sister is a teacher and a photographer. I work full time and I do food blogging and run a business and do festivals and a little bit of everything. And I think it helps to make us well-rounded, right? We have that professional side, but then we also have that social aspect where we're seeing the world and we're experiencing things that our parents didn't see. So I think that it's important. I think we're fortunate to be a part of this generation, and I just really hope that as a generation, as a culture, especially our culture, I'm excited that there are no limits now. We're able to do it all, like literally do it all,
Yeah.
to run these companies and be in these C-level C-suites or whatever fancy term they want to call them, but also grind for our business on the side. And that's a whole other stream of income, right? So those are
Yeah.
my thoughts initially.
Yeah. So what do you do currently full time as a career?
So full time I work in banking. I work for the government. So that's my bread and butter, as I feel like the older generation likes to call it, but that's what I do full time. And that's I love my job. I'm an accounting major. I knew that I wanted to be an accounting major as a senior in high school. I worked, or I did like this program with PwC, and then I went on and got my degree and started working. I've been working there. I interned there, and then I've been working there now like 6 years, 7 years. Um, and so that's what I do. It's always hard to explain.
Yeah,
Bank examiner. I don't
yeah.
think anybody really knows what I do, but yeah,
Look, you're making the coins, right?
that's all that matters.
Yeah. So you work full time, and I remember a few years ago, prior to the pandemic, this was, and I can't say this was your first business venture, but this was the first one that I was aware of. You created a brand called the Impossible brand. What was that? What was the inspiration behind that? And why did you jump out there and do that? And what did you sell?
Okay, so I first have to start off and say I I don't know if you're familiar with like personality types, Myers Briggs. So I'm an ESTJ. Everything has to make sense logically, right?
I like
So
that. Yeah.
I remember having a full on like back and forth, I don't want to say argument, but debate with one of my best friends. And I was like, girl, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Like some people are okay just going to a job. Now look at me. But
Right.
I came up with the Impossible brand just because I felt like nothing was impossible. Kind of like I said it earlier, like I feel like I can literally do anything. With God, like all things are possible.
Yeah.
So I was like, nothing is impossible. Whatever it is that I want to do, if I put my mind to it, I can do it. And so I was like, I'm gonna start this business and I love to eat. So I was like, well, I like graphic tees. I want to start a business and I'm going to make these graphic tees. And so I have it. I always talk about my sister, but I have an older sister and I can pretty much tell her, I want to do this. And she's like, okay, let's go do it. And
Yeah.
so she made me some shirts. This was back when like the cricket phase was like really big. I guess it's still big, but when it first started, she made me some shirts and I said, I want one to say my life is a mood and the other to say brunch is my love language. And so
Yeah.
she went and made them and they were a hit. Like I remember we were in Charlotte. I had just moved to Charlotte and she came up and we did like a whole photo shoot. This was before she was like even a photographer. And that's kind of where it started. I was like, I'm going to do this. And I really just had so many supportive people around me. Here I am thinking like, nobody's going to buy this shirt. Like it just has words on it. But then
Yeah.
you go into Forever 21 and or H&M, Shein, and you see these shirts with like
Yeah.
random sayings and the people are eating them up. So I said, okay. So I started off and I did like this bonfire. Well, it's called bonfire campaign, but basically I run this campaign, I advertise, and after a certain amount of sales, then they'll actually print. So I didn't
Mm,
have to print the shirts myself. I went through there. So kind of drop shipping. That was the first part of it. So I did that and I had a great response. But the thing that you have to remember when you start a business is that that first buy is like a support buy, right?
yeah.
So the true test of like your product is if they continue to buy it.
Yeah.
So that first campaign went well. So the brunch is my love language shirt and my life is a mood because I felt like that was my life. Like I want my life is a mood to me, and
Yeah.
I know the people around me. It's like y'all are doing it, so let's put it on the shirt. Um, and so from there, it just kind of grew. I had other shirts with a variety of sayings on them. So I switched over from the campaign type deal to drop shipping that I use Printful. And I really enjoyed it. It was so cool seeing people wear my shirts. They're like, oh, I'm getting, because I had a shirt, Flights Over Feelings, right? And so when people would be traveling, they would order their shirts and send pictures. And that was just so cool to me. I have people in Nigeria with my shirts on when they went to London or even around the States. Like they would have my clothes. And I'm thinking, that's so cool. Like me?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started. And then I started like the blogging part of it just from work. I traveled for work when I was
Hold
in
on.
the field.
Hold on.
Oh,
I don't want you to get to that yet, because
oh,
that's how I look. That's our meat right there. I'm gonna get to that.
okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's how the Impossible brand started.
Yeah. That's how they. So look, let me ask you this about the Impossible brand. One, are you still doing it?
So the Impossible brand is still around. It's still an active LLC.
Okay.
Um, but I've kind of changed, right? Because I feel like I hit a creative block or creator's block. And
Okay.
I feel like I don't ever want to just do something for money.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
the passion wasn't there anymore. And so I think that's why I just couldn't think of any more creative things to put on shirts, or, I did do the mugs and I did journals and I enjoyed that. But then, so part of it was I hit a creator's block and I feel like I need something, I need a refresh. And then
Yeah,
the other side of it was I feel like as you grow, you want to work smarter, not harder.
right.
And I was having to put in work for the mugs specifically. Like I was printing, and you know how Janisa is in there. Like
Yeah,
I was doing that, and I'm like, okay, so if I'm thinking about growth, right, that's not sustainable. So the Impossible brand is still around. I always go back and forth. I'm still paying to keep the site active.
yeah,
Um, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not currently, like, the site is active. Anybody can go buy a shirt right now if they want
yeah,
to.
yeah,
But I'm not actively like promoting.
yeah. So let me ask you this: how does it work if, let's just say, if I wanted to start a t-shirt company? And like a lot of it's crazy because a lot of times I talk to, Janice. Janice is my wife. If you're listening, don't know who we're talking about, but I would talk to her a lot about, man, I have an idea for a shirt. I want to create this. I want to do that. But it's different, making a shirt like you said for 8 people to support you and you just wanted to do it, but as a career, or even
Mhm.
as a brand that you want to build, you went to drop shipping, right? Is
Mhm.
that an easy process? And what's the commission splits with that?
Drop shipping is amazing. It was amazing for me because I didn't have time to print, pick up, send stuff to I didn't have time for that. So yeah, they get a larger cut, they as in the company that you use. Like I said, I use Printful. So the reason I liked it, the startup costs were so low. Like I had to have a website, but I could have essentially did it through Shopify.
Mm,
Um and then I wouldn't have had to build I think I still did build a shop in Shopify, but there were low startup costs. I didn't have to go stockpile shirts in my closet, right? They did all of that. And then they also sent them out to the customers. And then if something was wrong, if something was crooked or was on the wrong color, they handled that.
yeah,
Yeah, they took a larger percentage. So um, I pay a set price for the shirt, and then I can determine how much I wanted to mark it up, and that would be my profit. But I will say, if you go a different route where you find a printer, go that route, and you're a little bit more hands on, you can make a little bit more money. But like the shirt may have costed, I'm gonna throw out numbers. Maybe the shirt costed $13 for them to
okay,
make, and
okay,
then anything else. So if I charge $20, then that's a $7 profit for me, and then of course shipping. So I have to factor that in. And I learned a lot about um I don't know if it's like sales psychology or business psychology, but like
yeah,
how some companies will put the shipping into the price. So people are more apt to say, oh, I'll spend $25 on a shirt with free shipping versus a $20 shirt with $5 shipping. So I
right.
learned so much about that. Um, it was interesting, and I enjoyed it. But I think there's a little bit more to be learned, especially if you go the route of like I have a few people around me or that I knew like in college that do it, and they like you'll see them in the factories with the people who are like stitching the shirts together and stuff.
Yeah,
Like I didn't go that deep, but
yeah.
you can, and I'm sure you see more money on the backside, but I had to do what worked for me.
And you said something else that was powerful. You said you got to a point where you were no longer passionate, right? And this is something I wrestle with because a lot of times we have so many different passions, and people would say, "Well, you said you were passionate about it. How do you just walk away from it?" Right? How
Yeah.
did you know? So it's kind of like you're in those conversations. Like a lot of times, I would tell people, "Yeah, man, I love creating." Like at one point in my life, I wanted to create this magazine. And I did all the work. My sister, even speaking of older sisters, my sister went and took this business class for me. And that's funny. Like she took the class for me because she was going
Older
to help me.
sisters, can
Yeah,
we pause? Older
yeah,
sisters are legit.
yeah. They are
Like
legit.
I
Yeah,
love having my older sister, and I
yeah,
love your older sister
yeah, yeah.
too.
I love your older sister too. We were just
Right.
together yesterday. Yeah, and so she went and took this business class. She did like 9 weeks, paid over like $1,000 to help me. And then when she finished, I was like, Yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed, the process. It was kind of like, and I still, this is one of the things I realized about myself. I'm more of a planter of ideas, and a lot of times I'm a visionary, so I can cast vision. I love the creation of it, but a lot of times I don't want to see it all the way through. And that's
Mm.
not a sign of like laziness. This is more of like I've done, I think, my part. I kind of want to pass it to somebody else. And I think that's what happened with me. And so people were like, well, you said you were passionate about it. Yeah, I was, but you're learning more about yourself. When you talk about passion, if that was something you were passionate about, how easy is it to walk away?
So I wouldn't say it's easy. I think that's why I'm still paying for that page, paying to have the website active. But so I like to describe, if I had to give you adjectives about myself, one of them is passionate. If there's something that
Right.
I'm passionate about, like I'm going all in. And because of that, I feel like you can walk away, because if I'm passionate about something, I want to do it, and I want to do it 100%, and I want to do it right. And if
Yeah,
I know that I can't do it right, it's best for me to just leave it alone. So I
I got
think
it.
that's how I'm able to like just walk away and say, okay, like I enjoyed this. I still enjoy this, but I can't give it 100% now. So instead of putting out piss poor work,
Yeah.
just walk away, bow out gracefully.
Yeah. Okay, so you transition from the Impossible brand to food blogging. And let me say this, it's so funny because who would have thought maybe 10 years ago people would be posting food and people would love the idea of you going to a restaurant, somebody else is posting food. Who knew that that would become a form of marketing? Like it's almost like, why didn't restaurants do this before? Now maybe they had commercials and they would show like the
Yeah.
burgers and the fries and things like that. But I'm talking about you're seeing restaurants blow up off of TikToks and
Hmm.
Instagram posts based on food bloggers.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a food blogger, people just enjoy the idea of I went to this restaurant, the drinks looked great, the food was okay, etc. How did you get into this food? Let me just say the food industry.
That's so weird to think of it, because that's
Yeah.
essentially that's what it is. So, with my job, when I was in the field, I traveled for work, and I was in Dallas on a rotation for 7 weeks, and so I was like, I'm gonna start taking pictures of my food. And I remember, like, I don't. You probably been to Dallas, but you know the big eye that's like downtown, that really big eye. Anyway,
You're talking about in Dallas, right?
yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm from. I heard of it, but I don't know if I actually seen it. As many times I've been to Dallas, I don't think I've actually paid
yeah.
attention to it.
It was weird, because like, what is this big eye doing? But anyway, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna take a picture of this eye. And on that rotation, I was like, I'm gonna start just taking pictures of food. And I liked photography. So, and that was back when Instagram was pushing photos.
Yeah,
So I just started taking pictures. I would go different places, go to different restaurants. And I was always eating out because I was on the road, and I just started taking pictures of it. And then and so I was heavily on Yelp too. And so I started joining Yelp Elite. And well, I started writing reviews, checking in and stuff like that. And then I became Yelp Elite. And from there, I just met other foodies, and we started going to the event. So we would link up. And that's kind of how it started. And then I had a friend, Corey, who's really big in Charlotte. I call him the food mayor of Charlotte, um, Daily Special CLT. And he was so kind. Like, that's the best word that I can use to describe it.
yeah.
He was so kind. He had a larger platform. He still has a larger platform, but he was like, "Hey, you want to go to this restaurant with me?" Where other foodies would be, and so I was new to the area, new to food blogging, and he brought me along. And it was like on the climb, he just pulled me up. I saw you post something. I think it was you that posted something about pulling people up as you climb. Maybe it was someone else, but so that's essentially what he did. He would invite me and give me a chance to be at those tables in those spaces. And that's really how it started. And even when I moved back home, we had like a sit down conversation, and I kind of told him what was going on, where I was, what I was thinking about doing, and he gave me tips again. And so that's kind of how I got started. I always mention Corey because he was always such a good resource to me, always there to answer questions. Even when I started dealing directly with restaurants and brands and stuff, he was always there to answer questions. So that's kind of how I got started. Just
Yeah.
me loving to eat.
You loving to eat. And so look, so how do you connect with restaurants? Somebody wanted to be a food blogger. how do you, so obviously getting started is always the hard part. It's like you got to post some food, you got to know the right angles. Like, how do you connect with restaurants, and what are the added benefits? Do you eat for free? How does that work?
So it depends, right?
All
So
right.
in the beginning, I honestly, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I
Okay.
still don't reach out to restaurants.
Okay.
And I just was at a foodie event and they were like, girl, you need to start reaching out. But I'm not a very I am very direct. But I'm not a very like pushy person. Or I don't even want to describe it as pushy, but
Is
that
it
it
like you don't
takes a
sell yourself? You don't feel comfortable selling yourself, right?
I
Is
don't
it
know if
that?
it's comfortable. And I don't know if it's a I don't even know if it's like a I just don't even like working the wine festivals. It's so weird for me to say like, don't forget to tip your bartenders, like, because I
Yeah.
just feel like if you just got a drink, you should probably throw something in the, you know.
Right.
So I feel like, and I know it's a bad thing because you can't assume that people, have the same tipping etiquette or whatever, So I just don't, and I feel like everywhere that I've gotten, everything that I have gotten has been because God has kind of placed it. Even in my professional life, like as I've gotten promotions, to think that like it was not my own doing at all. It was me. I applied for one position as like a collateral. I'm gonna do this along with my other job, and from just the performance that I did there, I got so many other doors opened. Right. So I still even struggle reaching out to restaurants because everything that I've gotten so far has been them approaching me. But
Yeah.
if you have a desire to reach out to restaurants, DMs now at this point, it used to be. I imagine people you have to know the marketing person, but nowadays, you mentioned them maybe. So like the other day, I had a Alani, I think that's how you pronounce it, the energy drink. And I had got them for free from somewhere, from a restaurant that I went to. And so I posted it like, hey, Alani, like these are really good, you know? And so they responded back in the DMs like feeling peachy or whatever. And so I'm like, oh snap, let me shoot my shot. And I was
Yeah.
like, do y'all do brand collabs? So with restaurants, it's the same way from just talking to other foodies. That's how they do it. They just reach out to
Yeah.
them, hey, are y'all open to any collaborations? And it goes from there. Literally, it goes down in the DM for real.
Oh wow! And it's funny. I have a friend who he was in LA, and he was wrestling. At one point trying to figure out how to maximize his acting career, and so he would go around the coffee shops, and he started taking pictures of coffee. And somebody saw it and ended up asking him, would he be open to doing it for multiple coffee shops and kind of creating like this coffee brand? They gave him a gas card. They end up like, yeah, to travel. So I've
What?
always been curious as to how these things, manifest, and how how you really, jump off. Let's talk about, so now once you started, obviously you start with a few hundred followers. Recently, you just hit 10,000 followers.
I
Yeah, uh, on Instagram. How was that for you? And how do you maximize on that? Like, by you having 10,000 followers, do you get any type of sponsorships? How are you? Let me be more direct. Are you making money yet with Forks and Flights?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll be the first to tell people you don't have to have 10,000 followers to make money. And I've just learned that from TikTok. That's why I appreciate like the creators that are really transparent about pay. Because I'm like, oh dang, like I'm thinking, here I am thinking, because I think before 10 you're considered a nano influencer. So like I was like, I'm impressed. You don't have to wait until you have 10,000 followers. So when I had less than 10,000 followers, I was still pushing out quality content. And really, what even made me get to 10,000, I think, was like a few of my videos going viral. Um, and well, viral for me, because I know viral for other people, maybe like a million. But look, it was 250,000, so it was
Right.
viral to me.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so companies, and another thing that I learned is so many different ways to make money, right? You can make money off of your content that you post on your page, but then you can also make money off UGC content, user generated content, which means I produce a video for Nestle. And then I
Um,
don't post it on my page, but they post it on their page. So that's another revenue stream. So there are a lot of ways to make money. This is the first year where because go back. Chick-fil-A. I had randomly tweeted when the new it was like the spicy grilled deluxe. I should
it was a
know. I
chicken.
should
It was a
remember the
spicy chicken sandwich, right? I think it was a spicy chicken
yeah,
sandwich.
it was like the grilled spicy deluxe. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it was called. But anyway, literally how Chick-fil-A reached out to me was I tweeted about it. Social media, the power of social media
Wow.
in our day. I tweeted about it. They DM'd me. They said, "We think you'll be a good fit for the Little Things campaign or series or something." Reached
Yeah.
out to me, and that was like the start of it because I'm like, what? So I got paid for that one, and that was in 20. This is 2023. I think that was in 2020, 2021, 2020. I think 2020 or 2019. Anyway, but since then, if you put out good content, your following will grow organically. But a lot of times, you don't have to have that many followers. Just like the only thing I can say is put out good content and engage with your followers that you do have. You'll
Yeah.
grow, and you won't be able to predict what video will go viral. I honestly don't know what something in the algorithm. But
Yeah.
that's how you get paid. But yeah, this year has been the best year for me so far. Because I'm we have the festival. Like I do other things that are kind of food related, but as far as just strictly posting, this year has been like the year where I've like had to do a rate card and my media kit is done and I'm sending it out to companies and companies are coming to me like we can offer you this amount of money for a post. And I think that I try to be very genuine, right? Because that's my whole thing with being paid, right? I feel like it changes. And I think that's why I won't go full time because then it's like you can't be as selective if you need
Right.
to pay the mortgage, right?
Yeah.
But right now I can say like, oh no, this isn't a good fit, or yeah, this is a good fit. Let's send over a contract and we can get things rolling. But there's a lot of money to be made
Yeah.
because
Let
I
me
know
ask you this.
anytime I travel, the first thing I'm doing is going to TikTok.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. How do you keep a high level of integrity when you're posting? Let's just say you are posting for a company and you had a dish that you really liked, right? And then the next time you went back, you didn't really care for the restaurant. And maybe 3 or 4 times you didn't really care for the restaurant. But now they offer you opportunity uh, to blog for them. How do you keep a level of integrity by saying, guys, I this was fun, but I can't take this money because I just don't like the food. Like, how does that? Because have you had moments like that where,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So I recently, like earlier this year, had a collaboration. So this one wasn't. I don't want to consider it paid because I didn't get paid directly, but I got like free food. They sent me
yeah,
gift cards for free food, and I went, and it was bad.
mm,
Absolutely, it was just horrible, and it was also bad service because before they found out I was an influencer, the service was horrible. And then once they found out who we were, it changed, right? They started grabbing parsley and everything. So, um, after the experience or whatever, I still got content, and so I emailed the person that I worked with, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you." I said, "I have content and I can post it, but it's gonna be an honest post." And I have to go back and say I'm not a food critic, right? I
okay,
don't post. I know and understand that negativity you will go viral really quickly with a negative post, right? But that's not what I do. That's why I don't consider myself a food critic. The food that you see on my page is food that I genuinely like. There are
yeah,
several restaurants that I've been to in the city, in and around the city, that I've gone to. I don't like it, so I don't post it. And
got
that
it.
way there's no confusion. So back to the brand or the company, I reached out to the guy who initially emailed me and set it up. I told him, and I sent him a lengthy email after I told him that, hey, it's not good. It won't be a positive review. He was like, I appreciate you. And I sent him a lengthy email just letting him know everything kind of that went wrong. And he was like, yeah, just don't worry about posting. So that's how it works. Because I know I see posts all the time on Instagram, and I'm like, yeah, that place is nasty.
Yeah.
But I also have to say this. I can go to a restaurant and have a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I know
You
what you're
can go
saying.
tomorrow and absolutely hate it. That
Yeah.
doesn't negate the fact that I had a good experience. I'm only speaking on my experience that day.
Right. Right.
So that's the other side of it. But yeah, just if I don't like it, I can't post it. And when it comes to like being paid, it's like I'll be quick to say, oh, this was good. Like, listen to what I say. If you don't hear me talk about the macaroni and cheese, I don't like the macaroni and
Right.
cheese. And so that's kind of how I imagine that as it gets, I guess as my platform gets larger and I get larger deals, um, the conversation will get a little interesting. But at the end of the day, this isn't my bread and butter. Yeah, I would love to make some more food money or vacation money, but I'm gonna get a check every 2 weeks, so I don't have to sell my soul or sell, or I can still have my integrity and do this.
Yeah. Let me ask you this as we're getting close to wrapping up. Do you see yourself if this goes to 100,000 or 1 million followers? Do you see yourself doing this full time?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
I've been asked that question like 3 times this week, and well, let me go back. Lord, if that's what you want, but I don't think He wants that from me, right? Because although I'm a part of this generation, right, I'm also very much so stable. I'm not the one that's gonna like quit my job. Oh,
Yeah.
off of that. That don't make sense. Remember, I told
Yeah.
you ESTJ got to make sense. The numbers got to
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah.
And just to see the on TikTok when they're like very transparent about their pay, to see how you may make $20,000 one month, but then you make no money for 2 months. Like I can't deal with the fluctuations.
Yeah.
It's not good for my mental health and my anxiety.
Yeah.
That don't work for me.
And you know
And
what?
so
Go ahead. Go
as
ahead. I'm sorry.
as long as I'm able to do my job and do a good job at it and progress at work and still do this, it will remain a passion. I also fear that if I were to start doing it for money, the passion won't be there anymore because it's like, I gotta do this. I gotta
Yeah.
do what they say. Like now I can ignore these emails if I'm not interested. But once I need this, yeah. So I'm just a little bit too, I guess, old school where it's like,
Nah.
no,
And
I
you know,
can't.
you actually just helped me too because people ask me all the time. You know, I've done consultant work. I've done so many different things. I've bought a box truck and invested in a restaurant, and I've tried to create this life outside of a 9 to 5. And I realized just hearing you say it, it really just hit me. I am not built for entrepreneurship alone.
Yeah.
Right? I think that I'm like you. It just hit me. I was like, why am I struggling in these areas? Because I don't want to quit and just pursue this. Like, and I commend people that do it, but I'm
Hmm.
like you. I don't know if I could work a month and make this, and then like let me store it up, and then hopefully something else happens. And so
Yeah.
I think that's good what you're saying, and maybe those that are listening, those that may be wrestling, like, do I go full time with this, or do I stay with my job and do this as a passion? I like that you said it. Once it becomes a money thing, then your passion may diminish.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's what, we're trying to achieve here. Let me ask you this. What is your message to those individuals that's out there right now that's saying, you know what, I want to create a brand, I want to start, my own thing. What is your advice to them in doing it?
Um, Great question. My first tip, do it. Do it scared, do it confused, do it just do it. Because I think that so many people have so many great ideas and they just store them up because they're afraid.
Yeah.
And just do it. Even if you fail, you learn something, right? So it's not even a failure, it's a lesson. So that's my first tip, to just do it. My second tip is mentorship,
Yes.
networking. Now mentorship is something I'm really passionate about in my personal life, in my professional life. Mentorship. We are not meant to do life alone.
Yeah.
So many people have done things that we want to do. And even if it's not the same exact thing, it's close. Why do I have to reinvent the wheel when there are people who are willing and able and want to help the next line of people, whether it's influencers, examiners, whatever it is. So do it scared, but just do it like Nike. Build a network. Build a network of people who also want to see you do well, right? Not people who want to be in competition with you, but people who want to see you do well, people that know something. If you're the smartest person in your circle, you need a new circle.
Yeah, I agree.
And find people, have conversations with people. I feel like, the generation after us, and sometimes even our generation, we've lost the art of just communicating. Talk to people. You learn so much. And talk to people face to face. Build those connections. Research. We have so much at our fingertips. So much. All we gotta do is go to TikTok. You hear me saying TikTok because TikTok teaches you everything. I'm about to try to change my sync. And I'm like, shoot, TikTok can do it. TikTok, I know YouTube. There are so many resources out there, and you don't have to leave your bed. Open your phone. So many resources. Do your research. I can't tell you how many different companies I looked up. Even though I'm an accounting major, I'm always looking up business, the difference between an LLC and a DBA, C Corp, S Corp, tax treatment. I'm always stay curious.
Yeah, I like
It's
that.
always something. The day you stop learning is the day you stop living.
I love that.
So do it, network, and research.
Yep.
Network and mentorship, research. That's the start. And don't think you have to know everything, right? The first for a journey, what is the quote? A journey starts with one step. Just start.
Yeah.
And you'll learn so much along the way, and you'll look back and appreciate where you started. But you don't want to go through life with regrets. What would, like me and my boyfriend talk about that when we talk about, kind of, because we were high school sweethearts and then we went on and separated. Just not wanting to live with like the what if. You try it don't work out. Okay, look, at least I tried.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to live life with regret. So those are probably the tips that I would share for anybody who's kind of on the fence or have been thinking about it. And also, don't think about the people who won't support you. Think about the people who will. It may not be your family, but think about the people who will support you. And you never know how much what you have to offer will impact a total stranger.
Yeah. I love that. Well, look, I thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here on Undecided Major. Let me ask you this as we go. I kind of do these. All right. So, who is your favorite artist of all time in any genre of music?
Question for me, because I don't know. It's not like your typical like Beyonce and Rihanna and Nicki Minaj. Yeah. Dang. If you would have never asked me, I would have been able to tell you somebody. I don't have one. Can I get another question? It has to be an artist. Okay, wait. Like, I'm really about to think about this thing now.
No. Just think about it. We can go on. We can go on. We can talk later. All right. Okay. Second thing, favorite food.
Potatoes. I wish I could be a potato. Because, like, you got French fries, you got baked potatoes, mashed potatoes, so versatile. Like, potatoes.
All right. What restaurant did you go to that you say they have the best potatoes? Have you found one yet?
Ooh.
Even the best fries. I mean, you talked about
who do I think has the best fries? I see this on social media all the time. So if Chick-fil-A don't give you the butt fries, Chick-fil-A hit. Chick-fil-A fries hit. But I also like, I like a lot of fries. But we're gonna go with Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A? Okay. And the final thing, which is the most important thing for me, your favorite book you've ever read.
Your book.
Really?
I really enjoyed your book. I appreciated your vulnerability. That just brought me into something. I learned the difference between transparency, honesty, and vulnerability. Anyway, your vulnerability. Another book that I really, really, really enjoy, and I read it a while ago, like a long time ago, was Gentlewoman by Entrepreneurial, I think that's how you pronounce it. I really enjoyed that book growing up. I'm looking over my camera because that's where all of my books are. I've read so many amazing books. Girl,
Yeah.
Wash Your Face. I don't know if you see a trend, but I really enjoy self help books.
Okay.
Um, they and I had a friend tell me, you don't ever just want to read like fiction books to just like not always feel like you're working on yourself. But I don't know, like I enjoy learning about myself and learning
Yeah,
how to
me
be a
too.
better person. That I just tweeted the other day, like I love therapy days because like get me together. So I look at it as not fiction, even though it's self help. But yeah, Girl Wash Your Face. I really enjoy your book. We read it as a book club.
That's love.
Yes, for look, support is a
Absolutely.
verb.
Absolutely. Well, man, that is it. Hopefully, I'll get you back in on another season. We'll talk about what else you're doing. But I'm excited that you joined us. I hope again that our audience gains some clarity, insight, and just inspiration. You're watching and listening to Undecided Major with the Car J. Thank you again, Amber Owens of Forks and Flights, Impossible Brand, accounting exec, and all of that good stuff that you do. We appreciate you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I am so excited to see the future of Undecided Major. I know that it will be amazing because everything you do is amazing. And I'm so proud of you.
Oh, you awesome. Thank you. All right. Take care.
All right, you too.